In today's video, I'm gonna share with you my opinion on what I believe makes the perfect rental property. I get this question all the time. What do I do with a lead when it comes to the office? Should I flip it? Should I wholesale it? Should I keep it? And so I'm gonna give you my variables, my specs when I look at a property on whether or not I wanna keep it long-term for retirement as a wealth creation tool. Now these variables on the board behind me, guys, I'm gonna break them down one by one in detail and give you the reasoning behind them. On the first one right there, $1,200 to $1,500 rent, I believe, is the perfect rent rate zone to be in. Now, the problem is when you go too low, yes, you can have high cash flow, but you also have high eviction rates and a lot of headaches. If you go too high, you can still create big cash flow, but if the tenant defaults, what happens is you're on the hook for a much bigger payment. And a lot of people right now are in jobs that are risky. As the market turns and people start getting laid off, the individuals with the highest income at some of these corporations get axed first, right? Not always, but very commonly they do. And so you need to think about that, guys, as far as risk management going forward. Do you want to pay a big payment? Also, if you have to fix up that property, they're usually bigger properties, nicer properties. You're going to have to put more into it, so you need more disposable income. And then on the bottom side, you're just going to have a lot more headaches. So you may make $400 cash flow on an $800 rental, on a $1,300 rental, and a $2,400 rental, but these are the reasons I choose this price point right here. The other reason is it falls right smack in the middle of an affordable price point for those individuals working a traditional corporate job, a 9-to-5 job, maybe making between $50,000 and $80,000 a year. It's not going to put the stress on them, right? So I think this is the perfect rent rate. I see the least amount of defaults, or at least the amount of people that stop making the payments. And then if I do have to take the property back, I may only have, an $800, $900 PITI that I have to cover, and as well as the properties right in that mid-range where I don't have to overdo it with how much money I have to put in it to get it up and rented again, nor do I have a longer rent period as far as getting it back stabilized, if that makes sense, okay? Number two, I want a 4-2-2, that's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1,400 to 2,000 square foot brick rancher house. I do not like frame properties. I do not like siding properties. I like cookie cutter brick rancher houses. Primarily, I like to buy in tight ranges as far as tight zones where my rental properties are, usually built by the same builder with the same design. Here in Dallas, we have a couple different builders out here that built big subdivisions. When it's a cookie cutter property, it's easier to comp. You know exactly what you can rent it for. You know exactly what they're gonna sell for if you have to sell it for some reason. So a cookie cutter means just like a cookie, cutting it out step by step, they're gonna be the exact, if you look at it that way, the exact same thing. So, I like brick houses, and the reason why I want it to be a 4-2-2 is because let's say it's a 1,600 square foot, 3-2-2, when you have an extra bedroom, you can rent that property for more. Not always, but a lot of times you can. Let's say you just get $100 more in rent per month on that property, and you have 10 rental houses, 10 by 100, that's 1,000, right? So now that's 1,200. So if you have 10 rental properties, that's $12,000 more that you're gonna have as far as rental income coming in the year off the same property that you can finance off the same loan, essentially, if you wanna look at it like that, okay? Now also I like number 3 down here, to have my rental properties operate between 125 and 200K as far as an after repair value or market value. Now, in my market in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, once you get above about 225K, it's very difficult to get the property cash flow in relationship between taxes, county taxes, and rent rates as far as what you can rent the property for. This is a good price point to be in because if you go too low, it has no long-term ability to appreciate, but also if you go too high, it doesn't cash flow. So I think this is the good price point to be in. Number 4, I want to be in a funnel zone where a lot of traffic comes through. I like to be around hospitals. I like to be around colleges. I like to be around corporate, what's the way to phrase this? I like to be around chain restaurants, the Olive Gardens, the Applebee's, right? As well as within a mile of major highway intersections that they can hop right on a tollway and get to where they're going quickly. Now, the reason why I want to be around a hospital is because I love renting my properties to nurses. I like to rent my properties to individuals that if they get behind, they can take on another shift. Think about that when you rent your properties out. Is the person working a job or doing something that if they get behind, they can add extra income by working harder and pick up extra shifts? The other reason why I like to be around colleges is because sometimes you can rent it out room by room, but also parents are paying for their kids to live, right? And if they can afford to send their kid to college, they can afford to pay the rent. they're going to make that rent no matter what. And the other reason why is, guys, if those big chain restaurants are putting in an Applebee's or something like Olive Garden, the reason why that's a good place to be is they've already done their research. They've already spent a lot of money to decide if that's a place where they should put a building and have that type of business operate there. So they've already done the research ahead of time for you as a good area to be in. Number 5, layout and style. This is important, guys. If you're going to own a property for retirement purposes, you want to make sure that this is a property that you can rent in a good time and a bad time. A lot of us know the correction's coming, so I want to have a good layout, something that doesn't have bad, let's say like a master bedroom or master bathroom not being in the master bedroom, or saying it's out in the hall that they have to walk outside the master bedroom, can't even talk right now, to get to that master bathroom. You want to make sure it has a good flow to it. You want to make sure they don't have to walk through one room to get to another room, because this is a property that you're going to own for the next 30 plus years or your entire career, and even pass on generation to the next generation underneath you. You want to make sure that it's always going to be a good quality property to rent out, as well as the style and look as far as curb appeal. You want to make sure that this property is appealing so that if it comes to a point when the market's tough, you can always rent it as compared to your competition who may be buying a property just off price per square foot and comps, because just because the comps say that the house will rent for something or sell for a certain amount does not always mean that it will, right? That's where I think a lot of new investors struggle in the business, is they always think that just because it says the comps property will sell for this, it does not mean that. So I had a property one time that had some nasty tuna fish brick, and it was like this weird clay brick. It sold for quite a bit less than the houses around it. Just because a house on paper, the numbers on paper says it'll do something, does not mean in reality that you will actually get that as far as a business owner, okay? You're built, I like to say probably 1980 or newer. Really, I like to be 1990 or newer. And this is just because the age of the property, more deferred maintenance as it goes on. And these are going to be properties that you're going to own over the years. The big play right now going forward in the correction is, guys, to take over new build properties subject to. You can take these properties over, and even let's say that you did a 1960 BRRRR property, the BRRRR strategy. By the time you're in retirement, if you're my age at 35, think about that. That's going to be about a 100-year-old property probably, or pretty close to it. Whereas if you take over a current property today that was a 2018 build because the person got into foreclosure and they can't fix their situation, they have no equity to sell it, they let you take over the payments. By retirement, that property is still newer than what most rental properties individuals in the marketplace are buying today, if that makes sense. So think about that. Now 7, I want to have it cash flow at least $300 a month, probably more like $400 or $500 a month. This is net cash flow, guys. This is important. And also to have a 25% equity position when you finance out on the property. This is a good basic spec to follow. I don't always follow the 1% rule. I more look at cash flow, net cash flow. This is kind of where I want them to be. And the last thing is I want them to be within a 1-hour drive of myself. And there's a couple of reasons behind this. I want to be able to have contractors that I commonly work with get out there. And if there's a problem, a meltdown fire, and the tenant's going crazy, I want to be able to go out there and meet them and not have it be too big of a burden. I know some of you are on the East Coast and West Coast and you don't have cash flow properties, so you're buying in the middle of the country. But if you can, primarily the best place to be is within driving a distance, so it's not going to put a strain on your time or your stress. So these are some of the things I look at, guys. I hope this helps. But this is what I look at when a property comes into the office, whether or not I want to keep it long term for my rental portfolio for retirement. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe to the channel if you did. Comment below if you have any other opinions on properties that you like, or you look at certain things for your rental properties that you want to keep. And I'll see you here in a few days.